Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, be aware that the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
It is our basic human right to be fuck up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Today we are talking about the Shell Lake Massacre.
Woohoo!
That's Shell Lake, Saskatchewan here, actually.
And we also need to introduce ourselves because this is a whole new podcast.
Yeah, and I am Oud Gallifrey, and this is Occultae Veritatis.
I'm Sage Murray. That was an awkward introduction.
I know.
I'm Leon Filger.
You think we'd be good at this by now?
And I'm the special guest robot.
You're so special.
I have disposed of the other guest and instituted my own regime.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Before we get to Victor and his killing spree...
Yeah, speaking of that, it looks like you have a gift. What's your poison?
What's our poison?
What's our poison?
So, what's your poison?
So today I brought in for Off Pod Studio, I brought apple pie shots.
Oh, goody.
It's a classic for my New Year's celebrations.
Of course.
Yeah, I would go over to my dad's every New Year's. We would get just super hammered and wear funny hats and low-key good time.
Love it.
And pretty much at some point every year, the apple pie shots would come out, and that would be how we would revitalize the party.
These are like the whitest shots ever.
It would be the first time that we would revitalize the party. The second time was always tequila.
Of course. Right to the source.
Yes. One for you.
Thank you.
One for me.
I want to take a picture of it.
Little cute blue solo cups.
Oh, no, you spilled it.
Well,
someone get the paper towel.
Okay.
You people.
You guys are really spilly.
Yeah.
I was trying to photograph
Hey,
it.
speak for yourself.
Okay.
I have not spilled anything yet. Nor apparently yelled about my IQ. Apparently I did that last episode.
You did.
I did. I'm sorry.
Fuck me.
I just want you guys to know I'm very intelligent.
Got liquor all over my hands. All right.
Okay.
I think I'm in the middle.
Mine's 150. What did I say? 150. It's 150.
Okay, shots. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Oh,
That is dangerously smooth.
perfect.
It's so good.
That's apple liqueur, butter ripple liqueur, and a little bit of cinnamon.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you people all need to drink these. And I'm saying that because I love you. Because these are like, they make my heart feel fuller.
It's happiness in a shot glass,
Oh,
basically.
it's so good.
Yeah.
It is. Like, I've never been into punishing alcohol. I've always liked to be treated gently by my alcohol.
No, this is like what I would maybe imagine that like butterbeer tastes like for my Harry Potter nerds out there.
There's actual recipes for that.
Oh, it's so good.
I'll bring it in next time.
Yes, bring it in next time, and I love you forever. Not that I wouldn't tolerate it.
Is butterbeer alcoholic?
Your face,
yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Pass me another paper towel.
I think, there's there's recipes for non-alcoholic butterbeer.
I've
too,
made alcoholic butterbeer before.
Like beer is in the name. So.
Yeah.
man, if we ever do a magic episode.
And also, butterbeer is only slightly alcoholic, like in the Harry Potter canon, but the house elves still get drunk on it.
Of course, because they're tiny.
Do you guys want another one?
Yes,
yeah?
please.
Yeah, okay.
I'll be up for that.
I spilt my first one on myself.
Well, you spilled a little bit, I saw.
So,
it's so good.
So what are the concentrations of your concoction here?
Comes out at about 15%.
Okay.
I noticed at the store there was actually a McGillicuddy's, just straight up, just apple pie liqueur, which I haven't tried.
Interesting.
So maybe I'm making this harder than it has to be.
I don't know. It's really good.
Ooh, is that your grinder?
It is.
Does it work well? Do you like it?
It does. It's nice. And it only costs $20.
Where did you get it?
At the joint.
Really?
We have a shitty grinder from China.
Oh, yeah?
Mr. Sage Murray likes it.
My marijuana company, my medical marijuana company, sends me a plastic grinder with every one of my orders.
Ugh.
Oh.
So that I can pick the fucking sticks and stems out of their goddamn medical weed.
And pick the teeth out of your weed, too.
Ew.
Yeah.
Those melted plastic fumes really give an edge to the high.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's nice, and it's...
I just spilled it on myself again.
Okay, I just got a message from a fan that said, "Hey, you just got to say this because it's Friday and I'm Facebooking Wiley slightly inebriated. Fucking great job on your podcast. You're living a piece of my dream."
There you go. A bit of the after show and the main show.
Nice.
And really, my ego is a never-ending pit, so...
My head is so big, you guys. Like, I'm surprised I fit through doors.
Yeah. Especially Saturday night. If you message me on Saturday night, I'm probably editing, and I need the pick-me-up. So call me pretty.
And also, fucking email me. I'm so pissed that no one has emailed me. What's my email? sagemurrayov@gmail.com. Send me an email. I am very upset that no one has emailed me.
ovfeedback@gmail.com. I've yet to see one of your dicks.
Yeah.
Or
Where
vaginas.
the fuck are your dicks?
Send me.
We will all stare at it for 30 seconds. That's like a minute and a half of dick staring. What more could you ask for from a podcast?
Does it have to be my dick?
It can be any dick. Send us a picture of any dick, and I swear to you, on my grandmother's grave, I'll stare at that dick or vagina.
Whatever you got.
A tit, whatever. For 30 seconds, I'll look at it and I will think about it. Yeah. Think about what it does to me.
Okay, I'm going to give you a little pitch here real quick. So I go on the Pirate Bay, I download a torrent of 18,000 images.
Oh, no.
But you got to give us more money for that. This is a patron.
Yeah.
For a $1 patron, I'll take one dick pic.
I'm not even a patron. I'm the worst.
What the fuck?
I know.
Even I'm a patron.
Even I'm a patron.
Anyways, I'm going to rate these an 8 out of 10 because they're delicious.
I'll rate it a 10 out of 10 because I want it in my body all the time.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 because it was classy. It was a gift I wasn't expecting coming. It was really well made. Yeah, 10 out of 10.
It was very thoughtful.
Thank you, Robot.
And I rate it as a yes because I will always drink them.
Can we do an episode where we just review strains of marijuana?
Yeah, I think so.
I would probably need a ride home.
Make it patron only content.
I'm okay with that.
Just smoke a bunch of different weeds.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
All right.
I'm also up for that.
It's still considered Canada's worst random mass murder. Today is its ominous anniversary. 50 years ago at a farm near Shell Lake, Saskatchewan, Victor Hoffman murdered 9 members of the Peterson family. The diagnosed schizophrenic was recently released from a mental hospital. 6 of Hoffman's victims were children. 4-year-old Phyllis Peterson was the lone survivor, and in one of her only interviews, she recalled the horrific day.
I remember my brother William arguing with him, telling him that he could go out and shoot the cows as opposed to shooting us. And then when the policeman carried me out and he was crying, the policeman was crying, and then I knew that it was really bad.
Hoffman was found not guilty by reason of insanity and committed to a mental institution. Over much controversy, in 1992, Hoffman was granted escorted day passes from the facility before dying of cancer in 2004. Dan Plaster, CBC News, Regina.
So today I'm talking about the Shell Lake Massacre.
So exciting.
It's Saskatchewan's biggest mass killing. It happened all on one morning. Shell Lake is a tiny village. Even today it only has 195 residents, 1 hotel, 1 cafe, 1 beer store.
Gotta have a beer store.
Oh, yes.
It's Saskatchewan, after all.
Oh, yes. And I grew up in a small town like this. I grew up in Delmas, Saskatchewan.
Did you grow up in North Battleford?
I grew up in North Battleford for about 10 years, but from...
That's a lot of growing up.
Yeah. From the age of 0 to 8, I lived in Delmas. And Delmas is just this little 3-horse town with 1 store, and everybody knows each other. And... like, the vehicles driving were so infrequent that all the kids in town frequently played on the streets, and you didn't have to worry about getting hit by a car or a truck because they came, like, once every 2 hours.
Cool.
That's how slow the town was. So, of course, you would be shocked that some morning, waking up to know that a bunch of people in the house that were your neighbors, and small-town people, you know your neighbors intimately, had just been brutally shot.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So this starts in 1946. Unknown to his parents, Victor Hoffman had been schizophrenic most of his life. And this episode will talk about somebody with schizophrenia that ends up committing homicide. And something I read online that really helps, I guess, cement this unneeded fear about mentally ill people is you should fear them about as much as sharks. Because the chance of you getting hurt by a mentally ill person is about as likely as you being attacked by a shark. There's much more things to worry about out there. It's not worth putting fear into that just to feed the stigma that mentally ill people are dangerous.
Yeah, we talked about this on my Richard Chase episode.
Yeah.
Just because mentally ill people are always the people who commit these horrific crimes on all sorts of Hollywood TV shows and movies and whatever. That's not really the case. Because, we're all mentally ill. I am.
Yeah, to some degree.
I am. I'm definitely.
Yeah. You're also on SSRIs. You have a legit diagnosis.
Yeah. True.
So do I.
Yeah. So, I guess schizophrenia, the hallucinations that appear, I guess the auditory and visual hallucinations, they have to draw from somewhere. They can't come up with new creations, so they have to use memories and experiences in the brain to generate those hallucinations. And Victor Hoffman was raised in a very fundamentalist household, in a Judeo-Christian household, so his delusions took the form of devils and angels. And his whole childhood, he was fighting a war between devils and angels his whole life. And
wasn't Tom Cruise doing that?
Yeah, I think so. Also Keanu Reeves.
It's a lot of responsibility for a little kid.
Victor first saw the devil when he was 6 years old. He was about 6 feet tall, black as night, and with a long tail and a pig-like face.
A pig-like face?
Yeah, I guess from what I described from the hospital notes when he was... Because later on he gets put in a mental institution for a while, but the notes that I got from that is it had a very pig-like nose.
What was his name?
Victor Hoffman.
I'm going to Google it.
Yeah. Angels also appeared to him. They appeared as glowing, beautiful women. So women that had a sheen to them, that glowed in the dark, like they were producing light like a light
your pregnant
bulb.
wife.
That radiance.
Oh, yes.
Like your pregnant wife.
Pregnant shine is a thing. The pregnant glow they talk about?
Yeah.
Fact.
They look like the women off Herbal Essences commercials.
Fact.
Yes.
Don't smell like them, though.
Nope. He began to feel that he was in the middle of a war being seduced by Satan and God. He would stare into space, and his parents didn't think much of it. They just thought he was simple. But in his mind, as he was sitting on the stoop and staring off into space or just staring at a wall for hours on end, he was actually having long mental conversations with devils and angels. And both of them were tempting him to his side. And that was part of his auditory hallucinations. Yeah, his parents didn't inquire into why he was staring into space or anything like that. They kind of just assumed he was simple and didn't really nothing about it. He sometimes heard tapping sounds and would awake in the middle of the night to a drumming sound that went faster and faster. So it would start out as just a little tap, and then it would get faster and faster until it was just a really fast drum beat. When he was about 10, he began having daily impulses to kill. He assumed that these daily impulses to kill were two things. It was either God directing him to kill an animal because God was telling him that a demon was in that animal, or it was the devil tempting him to kill to commit a sin and draw his soul closer to the devil.
Sounds tough.
Oh, wow. Yes. He directed his impulses against animals and began by torturing a cat. He caught a cat in a magpie trap and threw it into a smokehouse. So
what? What is a smokehouse?
I think it's a place where you smoke meat. So it's kind of a almost beehive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a little shack thing, and then you put the wood in the bottom.
And again, this is showing his battle between God and Satan, because a few days later he felt really bad that the cat was still in the smokehouse, and he released the cat. And
it was still alive.
It was
just
still
like
alive.
super smoky.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the smokehouse wasn't on. It wasn't currently smoking meat. It was,
okay. That's better.
Yeah, he threw it in an empty smokehouse. But yeah, he went there and took it back out. From there on in, this is the last time he showed mercy to animals. He began to be known around his little town for kidnapping dogs and cats and beating them to death.
Ew.
Wow.
He would use chunks of meat from the animals he already killed to lure new animals towards him.
It's like part of the McDonald triad.
Mm-hmm. He was also known for killing squirrels. I guess there were some reports that he had like a body of a couple hundred dead squirrels hidden somewhere, and that was because he was using little wire traps on all the trees in a small area, and as these squirrels ran into the traps, they would get caught in them, and then he would kill them. And I guess part of him feeding his urge to kill was killing just hundreds of squirrels and trapping them.
That's a really alarming number of squirrel bodies to
disgusting.
find.
Oh, yeah.
Too many squirrels.
Boy's got a future in animal control, I guess.
Oh, no. As a teenager, he encountered the form of the devil that he would most hallucinate. So as a kid, he saw that pig-faced devil. And then as a teenager, as he was starting to get older, and I guess he experienced more things, he started to see the same form of the devil over and over again. It was a 6'6" tall, black-skinned, 300-pound fat guy.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was always naked.
That pans out for me. Yeah.
Yeah, think of a naked Donald Trump, except with black skin. The devil told him he would make him very rich if he would bow to him. Victor didn't want to bow all the way, so he tried to trick the devil, and he knelt on one knee, thinking that would make him half as rich. He did not become half as rich, and he thought that it was because he refused to bow all the way for the devil. Since he saw the devil about 20 times, the last time before the murders at the foot of the house. So he saw this form of the devil about 20 times throughout his childhood and early adulthood, and the last time he seen it was before he stepped into the house to murder all those people, and the devil was beside the house tempting him in. Shortly after he first saw the devil, Victor also began to see angels. They looked like human beings and were dressed as women and often talked to him. They did not appear as frequently as the devil. One guardian angel kept on appearing to him and tried to protect him and told him many times that he must not kill crows. Apparently this angel told him that crows must be the one animal he can't kill because they are watchers of the angels. And he listened to the angel and he didn't kill any crows. Once he hallucinated the devil attacking the angel, and Victor suddenly blacked out and found himself with a sword in his hand, and he found himself attacking his guardian angel. He thought that the devil tricked him into killing his own guardian angel. The devil kept on approaching him and asking him to sell his soul. And he threatened that if he didn't follow his advice, he would die 1,000,000 times in his life. He was concerned whether he was half boy or half girl. Now, this wasn't like a transgender, it wasn't a body dysmorphia thing, or it wasn't a gender dysmorphia thing. He literally thought that one of the ways the devil punished him was by taking half of his brain out and putting the brain of another person into him.
Oh,
jeez.
And he thought that he had the brain of another person in his head of a woman named Denise. So he thought that the devil punished him by putting Denise in his head.
So the manifestation of another personality, then?
Yeah, so far he has angels, devils, and Denise talking to him.
It's a lot for a poor little kid to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
Especially when the parents aren't very attentive.
Yeah, like even in the best of circumstances, like how do you... Oof, that's a lot for a kid. I don't know. I had trouble just like even coping with school.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
I mean, this kid's got every right to be fucked up.
Yeah.
No one's judging there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and of course, this is the 1950s in Saskatchewan. They were poor farmers. I'm not sure they're farmers, but living out in the area they probably didn't have much income and probably didn't have much time or means to go visit the doctor and take care of him properly.
Well, and if he was just kind of staring off into space a lot, then, that's easy to just kind of hand wave as, he's just a daydreamy kid.
Yeah.
And then they shut down STC.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was far after, but...
Yeah. Once Victor thought he got a message directly from God, and the angels who promised him that they would take him to heaven, but only if he caught the devil and destroyed him. In 1964, when he was 18, he caught the devil, but because of a terrific bad smell, he had to let him go.
Whoa.
So he thought that he had the devil caught.
Should use Dr. Scholl's.
Oh, gross. The devil smells like eggs. Get out of here.
Ew. When he was 19, he tried to shoot the devil in the air. His mother caught him shooting a gun into empty space and took the gun away from him.
Like you do.
He once threw a net on the devil to take away his magic, but he disappeared from under the neck and appeared behind Victor and threw him down using judo. He then picked him up off the ground, and the devil got away.
Oh, boy.
Victor never told anyone about this. No one would believe him. All these stories and all these experiences only came out after he was after he was admitted to the mental health facility, to the hospital in Regina.
Okay.
And I think he resided in North Battleford.
Oh, the one in North Battleford.
Yeah.
It was provincial.
The only person he ever told was his mother. After another incident where his mother caught him shooting a gun into empty space, he told his mom that he shot the devil. She immediately got a local pastor named Pastor Post to see Victor. Pastor Post wanted some privacy with Victor as he was interviewing him and all that, and even though Victor's mother was very curious, she wasn't allowed to come in. But the one thing that she heard Victor say as the pastor was walking back to his car with Victor was, "I'd like to kill Mum."
Oh, damn.
Oh.
Yeah. The next day, arrangements were made to have Victor committed to the Saskatchewan Hospital in North Battleford. After a brief examination, the doctors declared Victor to be, quote, a schizoid in the state of acute schizophrenic reaction.
Okay.
Of course, you can tell this is kind of old medical jargon.
Yeah, that's pretty old-timey language.
Yeah. He needed to be hospitalized, and according to the reports, he had recently become more disturbed from when he arrived at the hospital. The record stated that Victor was fairly cooperative during examination, but appeared withdrawn, apathetic, seclusive, vague, and indifferent. Basically,
is seclusive a word?
Reclusive?
No, I don't think so.
Reclusive and secluded.
Yeah, that's what they are.
You just combixtured it.
Yeah. Sometimes I just like mess it up.
That's okay. I love you. It's all good.
Apparently, whenever they interviewed him, whenever they tried to talk to him, he gave short, vague, one-word answers, and he wasn't really participating.
It's like my second wife.
Oh.
It's true.
How are you feeling today? Fine. Oh, shit.
Yeah. Oh, so the doctor tried to tell him that his visions were illusions. Victor denied that they were illusions and said that he was able to touch the devils and the angels, and he could smell them, and he could taste the stink in the air when the devil showed up and all that. So, and he said that he even killed a female angel in a fight with a sword and tore off a piece of her blouse and kept it in his room. And
boy.
They couldn't convince him that they weren't illusions. It's kind of funny that we did your episode, Leon, because he got 12 ECT treatments and a round of tranquilizers. After the second ECT treatment, there was a marked improvement, and he was more pleasant and less withdrawn. After a fifth, he was more cooperative. After the ninth, there was not much change noted, but his father, who visited him, claimed he was his usual self. After the final, which is the 12th ECT treatment, he appeared doubtful about all the happenings with the devil and the angels. He said that he knew they were illusions now. Now, there's conflicting reports whether the doctors thought that he was lying and just thought, I'll tell them that they're illusions just to get them off my back so I can get out, or whether he actually believed it. He stated to the doctors that he had never been so clear in his mind, and he thought he was ready to go home and enjoy life, because now he was not scared at all. He remained cooperative after the 12th ECT treatment. He considered himself free the devil, or that's what he told the doctors. When he came home from the hospital, Victor knew something was going to happen to him, and a hospital patient told him he was going to commit murder 3 weeks after being discharged. So there was a patient in the hospital that apparently told him that he was going to commit murder 3 weeks after discharge.
Who was this patient? Why were we listening to them?
It's just, I guess he's the one that put the seed in Victor's mind. So it was just another person who was mentally ill in that hospital that decided to tell Victor about one of his delusions, and Victor took that as Bible fact. And as the day approached, as he was let out of the hospital, his urge to kill began to grow and grow. He got released because the hospital was overcrowded. Basically, the psychiatrist called his dad and said that Victor was schizophrenic, but he wasn't too bad.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Hoffman didn't know the meaning of the word. He was just, some Saskatchewan farmer. So he trusted the word of the doctor and said, okay, if my boy's not too bad, I'll just take him home then. And he brought Victor home. He gave him a bunch of tranquilizers and some medicine and sent him on his way. Victor's parents tried to keep track of his medicine, but Victor complained that the pills gave him a backache.
What?
I hate a backache.
Oh, yeah. A backache.
Like backache.
Backache. He was so doped up on the pills when he was taking them that he wouldn't say anything. He would kind of just sit there and stare off into space for hours on end. He was kind of returning back to what he did as a kid. By August 11th of that year, Victor was no longer taking the medication. He complained that they made his back ache, and he didn't enjoy being basically stoned on them. And his parents stopped making him take the pills. On August 15th at 3 a.m., Victor woke up and went outside to piss. He came back in, laid down on the sofa, and could not fall back asleep. He went to the garage since he couldn't sleep, and he saw a dog running outside, as you do sometimes in small towns, and he had the impulse to kill, but he didn't. He worked in the garage for half an hour, just cleaning up stuff and repairing farm machinery, and he suddenly had a strange feeling on the right side of his head, where Denise was. Felt as though his whole body had been cut in half and something had left him.
Oh boy.
He felt no pain, and a very powerful impulse came upon him. He basically theorized at this point that the devil had removed Denise from his head. And I guess Victor had, over the years, he'd come to accept this other voice in his head, this other Denise, and he found her to be a calming element. But he then hallucinated the devil removed Denise from his head, and now he feels like he's been let off the leash, and his urge to kill just exploded. He put gas in his car, loaded up his .22 rifle in the back of the car, and drove off into the night. As he was driving, he saw a hawk, which flew across the road, but he didn't kill it. He had an impulse to kill it, but he didn't want to. He saw several squirrels, but he didn't want to kill them. He kept on driving until he arrived in the town of Shell Lake. He saw many houses along the road and felt an urge to kill. About 6 a.m, he came to a farmhouse where the urge was particularly strong. He looked at the house, and there's nothing unusual about it. He just got the strongest feeling there. Outside the house, on the stoop, he saw the 300-pound, nude, 6'6" version of the devil standing there, beckoning him into the house.
That sounds terrifying.
That sounds terrifying.
And he thought that he was powerless to this devil. He thought that Denise has been removed from the head, so his calming element has been removed.
It was like the protector.
Mm-hmm.
Like Denise was like his protector.
The guardian angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And some of the readings I've read over, he almost thought that Denise was like a placeholder for, like, he thought that maybe that was the angel that he killed. Maybe his guardian angel was still in there.
And
that's pretty fucky.
Yeah, super fucky.
Basically, he knocked on the door, and he went into the house. He explored the house until he saw a man getting dressed for his workday. This was Mr. Peterson. He apparently got scared because the strange man was in his house with a gun, and he started yelling, "Who is it?" and kept on yelling over and over again. This panicked Victor, and he shot him. Victor was later quoted, "If he had talked quiet and told me I was wrong, it would have been all right. He could have helped me, and I wouldn't have killed him, but he tried to stop me."
Oh my God. That's yucky.
Yeah. Mr. Peterson jumped off the bed and kept coming at him. He grabbed Victor by the neck, but Victor kept on shooting him. He only had a .22 after all, so it's not going to be usually a one-hit kill.
Doesn't drop a person.
Yeah. Mr. Peterson was found to have 11
Unless
gunshot
you shoot them
wounds.
in the eyeball and it lets the bullet bounce around inside
Yeah,
their
actually,
skull.
that can be worse, yeah.
Yeah. Milkshake.
So
or I guess brain shake.
Ew.
Gotta hit the eyeball.
Yeah.
Just a brain slurry.
The slurry.
Yeah.
So the sound of the father, Mr. Peterson, yelling, tackling somebody, getting shot 11 times, and the ensuing death, rattle, and struggle woke the rest of the family.
Like it does.
Yeah. The family, to Victor, the family did not look like people, but they resembled the pig-faced devil he had seen in his childhood. So
that would have been really fucking scary.
Oh yeah. So the 6'6" naked
jet black.
Yeah, the jet black 6'6" version of Satan was outside, and all the people inside looked like the pig-faced demon from his childhood.
Oh, yuck.
And he went from room to room killing him. He shot the 2 girls, Jean, who was 17, and Mary, who was 13.
That's my middle name.
Oh, really?
It's Jean.
Oh my God, you almost died.
I did.
I knew that.
Can we keep that in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Say Jean Murray. That sounds fine.
Okay. He then heard Evelyn Peterson, the mother, climbing out the window. So Evelyn heard all this, saw her husband dead, saw her kid dead, and she basically grabbed her baby that she was taking care of and jumped out the window trying to get away.
Oh my God.
Victor ran outside after her and shot her dead. He then went back inside and murdered the remaining 4 children, Dorothy 11, Pearl 9, William 5, and Colin 2. He then heard a baby crying outside and discovered 1-year-old baby Larry in his dead mother's arms laying in the grass.
Yuck.
Victor said, I hated myself for shooting it, but I didn't want it to suffer. Yeah, the baby.
Oh, he said it.
Yeah. I hated myself for shooting it. I didn't want it to suffer. Maybe nobody would find it for 3 or 4 days. It would starve to death. So he shot, apparently, the baby out of guilt.
Or out of remorse? Not remorse. What am I thinking of? Kindness?
Yeah, yeah.
Empathy?
Like a mercy
killing.
Like a mercy killing. Ooh,
benevolence.
that's yucky. I don't like
Oh
that.
boy, this is rough.
Yeah, this is not a good one.
One lone girl, Phyllis, age 4, was spared because she was the only one that he didn't hallucinate to look like a demon.
Oh my god.
He hallucinated her to look like an angel, so he thought that she was the only angel in the family, so he spared her life. He started panicking. After the event was over, after he saw that everyone was dead and that the only angel in the house was safe, he started panicking. I guess he started looking for cartridge cases and picking them up, and he even shook the blankets looking for them. He picked up 17 and put them in his right pocket, and he walked out of the house. He also raided some things. He stole a wallet with some money.
Can I raise a question here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why was the devil beckoning him towards the house so
Yeah,
that
why
he
was
could
the
kill
devil beckoning towards the house?
the other pig devils?
I'm not sure.
That's weird.
Yeah, you think the devil would want to keep its pig devil cronies instead of having someone
Or maybe this was all part of his fall from grace.
Yeah, that could be it.
I don't know. Maybe when he saw the angel, he thought the devil was trying to trick him into killing the angel.
I mean, I guess ultimately he just felt like he was completely bent and compelled by the devil's will.
Yeah.
So, like, who knows why that was the case.
Yeah.
It's just he didn't have a choice.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid. It was his stupid brain.
I guess the problem here is that I'm trying to apply logic to an illogical mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's the thing, yeah.
He had a sick brain. Poor. Like, obviously, the crimes he committed were heinous.
Oh,
like,
it's absolutely horrifying.
Disgusting. Like, I'm sitting here with, like, my mouth open because, like, I have a kid.
But
so it's, like, super yucky to me. But at the same time, like, this guy was super unwell.
I mean, at the same, I think at the same time, as much as you can be like, oh, that's so terrible what they've done, and like they're terrible people, you can also have empathy for them,
which is kind of our jam, I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's both sides, right?
Ooh, but the hearing about those kids being
rough.
killed because they look like pig devils is just for me.
I just think paying attention to just the terror without looking at the possible reasoning behind it is a wasted opportunity. Like these are stories we can learn from.
Mm-hmm.
So much more complex than you would think otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, and then more complex than some other avenues present them as.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was haying season.
Yeah. So where do we go from here?
Haying season.
It was haying season. It was late. It was late in the harvest, and basically all the shit crop that wasn't good enough to be human food was being rolled into hay to be fed to the animals.
Mm-hmm.
W.J. Lang, a neighbor, had arranged to begin operations at 9 a.m. on Tuesday with the Peterson family, so it was kind of a family farming operation. He showed up at the door at the appointed time, and he couldn't find anybody. He walked into the house, and he found a massacre.
Oh my god, I can't imagine.
So Mr. Lang found the keys to the Peterson's 1957 station wagon and drove 4 miles to the nearest phone to inform the RCMPs in Spiritwood, about 20 miles away.
I've been to Spiritwood.
Yeah, I've been too. I bought liquor in Spiritwood once.
Did they have good spirits?
Not really.
No, not really.
Yeah.
Corporal Barry Richards of the Spiritwood RCMP found slain members of the family in their beds with one girl hiding, terrified. The mother and the baby were found in the backyard under an open window, shot in the back.
Oof.
Corporal Richards noticed a movement in one of the beds and discovered 4-year-old Phyllis, who was unharmed. He took her outside, and they found 2 major clues. Muddy boot prints on the I can't say that word.
Linoleum.
Linoleum.
Good try.
Which they cut up and took with them, and a few shell casings were sent to Regina to be tested. It was found to have been shot from a gun with a Remington barrel and a Winchester stock. When they asked the surrounding community, an anonymous source tipped them off to Victor, a young man with an obsession for killing animals. Because you can't rid a whole forest of squirrels without somebody noticing.
Right?
Yeah.
Unless you use Agent Orange.
Oh, true.
Call back to a previous episode.
I feel like probably they would still notice.
Not if they got Agent Orange also. Got their reproductive cancers.
Fair, yeah. Eliminate all witnesses. Smart.
Get out.
Yeah, there you go.
Basically, the police investigated Victor's boots. The boots prints matched the prints left in the Peterson home. The family owned a gun that matched the shell casings, and in a thorough search in a bushy area 2 miles from the Hoffman farm, they found 2 wallets belonging to members of the murdered family. Victor was arrested. His trial was closely followed. Even in the dead of winter, people stood outside the courthouse waiting for new news on the case. This is the biggest thing to happen in Saskatchewan in a long time, and there wasn't much going on in the 60s. The prosecution argued that shooting James Peterson, the father, should have been a jarring enough experience that the rest of the murders were done with a clear mind. No. That was the state of knowledge about mental illness in the mid-1960s. They thought that because he shot the father, that should have been a traumatic enough event that it snapped him out of his schizophrenia somehow.
What?
It was different. It was a different time.
Yeah.
That's not how it works.
No.
The defense took the time to educate the jury on just what schizophrenia was and what delusions Victor was seeing and experiencing. And this is one of the first times in Saskatchewan that educating the jury on certain mental illnesses from a professional was done.
Oh, that's good.
The jury deliberated for 3.5 hours before they found Hoffman not guilty by reason of insanity of the non-capital.
Fair enough.
Of the non-capital murder of James and Evelyn Pearson. As Victor was leaving the courtroom, he committed him to Prince Albert. So I guess the mental hospital in Prince Albert. He remained there until his death on May 21st, 2004.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's the story of the Shell Lake Massacre.
That one was really tough for me, and I don't know why, because I've covered cannibals and old dudes who have sex with kids, but that was really tough for me.
Very vivid storytelling of the actual scene of the massacre.
Yeah, I think that might be it. I feel really conflicted because, like I said, I have a kid, so obviously all the talks about the kids being murdered was tough for me to hear. But then I also have empathy for the mental state that Victor was in. It's all rattling around inside my brain, and that I don't know, that was a really tough one for me to listen to.
I think a slight state of confusion is healthy because I think people gravitate towards simple answers because they're easier. And I think holding multiple nuanced views in your head at the same time is harder. It's more frustrating. It's not as finite, and it's not as pretty of a simple picture.
Right.
That's what academia is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah, and it was a horrible event. An innocent family got killed,
and also it hits close to home because Ood, you and I are in Saskatchewan, and Leanne grew up in Saskatchewan. Mm-hmm. He comes and visits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mom. I guess my mom recommended the story. She works at the Sask Hospital.
Thanks, Ood's mom.
Yeah. I guess her and some of the nurses there listen to our episode, so hello.
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 I imagine that they've probably seen files and heard stories because Victor stayed at the North Battleford Mental Hospital.
Oh, yeah, you'd read those files.
Oh, yeah.
Not anymore, you wouldn't, but in those days, you would.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I worked with the government and CSC, and I read lots of files.
And they've tightened up HIPAA so much. They know any file I look up on the computer, and they want to know why. And if I can't come up with a really good excuse for why I looked up that patient, I'm in big trouble.
Saskatoon Health Region has really locked it down.
Okay, well, I worked with the Correctional Service Canada, and I looked up people that I worked with in Vancouver and some guy that I also know.
Yeah, they'd catch us if we tried to do that.
If you worked with corrections, you might have had different avenues to go down also.
Yeah. I had pretty open access to.
Yeah.
I've had lots of clearance.
Yeah.
So maybe they didn't care. I don't know.
Who knows?
Anyway.
I mean, if you have clearance, then great.
Yeah, might as well, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I really wanted to read over the files that the psychologists and the therapist wrote because I wanted to get into his head and see what he was seeing. The most terrifying thing, and my mom mentioned this to me when she requested the episode, she couldn't stop thinking about little 4-year-old Phyllis.
Oh, God.
This strange man came into her house, shot everybody she knows and loves, and then she had to, I don't know, I imagine that she probably wandered around a little bit, and then the police found her hiding under a blanket. So,
thinking of my 3.5-year-old, I can't imagine how he would act if someone came in and shot me and his dad.
That's going to be years of therapy.
Right? It's just awful.
Well, that's an early suicide death.
Oh, yeah.
I can't imagine that happening to my kid.
You know what? Young enough, though.
Yeah. Well, kids,
if they get the help,
resilient.
If they get the help they need, they can bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Future Ood, look up if she turned out all right.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that too.
Don't include it in the episode if she didn't.
Yeah.
Because this episode's sad enough.
Yeah, this episode was tough enough for, like, I don't know.
Person that would say...
Phyllis Peterson, as far as I can tell, she stayed away from the media for the most part. Understandably why. But from what I can tell, she grew up to be a successful adult. She appears to be functioning, and she appears to have thrived under the circumstances. Do you guys have any other statements or questions or anything like that?
I already said my statement. Like, this was a tough one for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I keep thinking of my kid.
Who needs another shot after that?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Anyways, I've been Ood Gallifrey.
Sage Murray.
Leon Filger.
Special guest robot.
Yay. Yeah. Love you.
No, they won't be home to that little farm, a place they love so well. A town in North Saskatchewan, quiet countryside. No reason found for the tragedy of why 9 people died. The little girl that's left behind, her family now have gone. We'll bow in prayer for her and them who are watching from beyond. All the people in that countryside will mourn for weeks to come, for the family that were shot to death, all 9, one by one. Many tears fell at the graveside, where they're now laid to rest. They'll not go home to that little farm, the place that they love best. A little girl at a window, and she's standing there tonight. Her eyes are filled with misty tears, her heart is filled with fright. She doesn't know what happened, and she just don't understand. Thank God she missed the Slayer's gun that was so close at hand. But the sun will rise tomorrow, and life it will go on. Some won't be here while others are, and if so, for how long? The world seems cruel more often now, and won't change, so they say. There's heavy hearts in the countryside up near Shell Lake Way. All the people in that community will mourn for weeks to come, for the family that were shot to death, all 9, one by one. Many tears fell at the graveside, where they're now laid to rest. They'll not be home to that little farm, the place they love the best. No, they won't be home to the little farm, a place they love the best.
You know, it's not often that we have a palate cleanser song that is so related to our episode, but this one was written about the actual incident. The name of the song is Shell Lake Disaster, and it was recorded and pressed on vinyl in Saskatchewan by Irvine Freese and his daughter Jacqueline. It's a nice little ditty, and it was a nice way to play out the episode. In other news, we have a new Patreon. So, this week, Steven Skytower is buying the booze.
Beer.
Steven Skytower, that last name kind of reminds me of the first gym leader in the second edition Pokemon. Or I always remember that the first gym was bird type, because, you know, they got to give you something easy to hit out, and, you know, at that level, birds aren't really that terrifying. Their speed advantage isn't really that much of an advantage. But yeah, Steven, thank you for becoming an official occultist, and thank you for putting beer in our fridge and putting weed in our lungs. Also, we have our first listener in Russia, and they downloaded 3 episodes, so welcome to the resistance, I suppose? Hello, in Russian. That's it, that's all. A nice, simple after show this week. If you want to hear yourself in the after show, just go to our website, www.ovpod.ca. Go to the contact page. There's options there to email us. I'll read your emails on the show. Send us a voicemail. I'd love to play your voice on the show. That's even better than an email. Or simply follow us on social media. When we ask questions, or when we show stuff that relates to the show, you guys can comment on it. Sometimes I read comments on here. They're really good, thoughtful ones. So if you want a bit more of OVPod in your life, just follow us on social media, interact with us through email and voicemails, and otherwise keep partying. I've been Hood Gallifrey with the After Show. Remember that not all yellow snow is bad. Some of it is just lemon-flavored snow cones, so be adventurous. Try yellow snow sometimes.